Well, you wouldn't put them to bed while I was open all the time?
MVP.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes! Harper, the swing of his life!
You never get ahead of yourself. As
I know rent is due every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 69. Nice.
Yeah.
Also, happy Halloween to all you guys out there.
Here he
Speaking
comes.
of,
Happy Halloween!
From the depths.
The luchador.
Who wants a shot at the belt?
Little title shot.
As you can see,
Wait a minute. What are you doing with a luchador mask?
Dude, I got this thing in Mexico like 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's kind of dope.
The genuine article.
Yeah, that's kind of dope. I would probably walk around all the time with a luchador mask if I had one.
Yeah, it's great. But I tell you what, it's hard to hear in it. So for those of you wondering at home, it was me, Austin.
Full house tonight. Myself, Chris Guest, Al Ryan. We're going to dedicate tonight's episode to one big number 69 in Eagles history, guys. John Runyon.
All right.
All right. Listen, a lot going on, gents. We're on a short week as well. You know, podcasting on a Wednesday, then coming back on a Tuesday. It's almost like that Thursday night football game. You know,
Yeah,
it hits you hard.
that.
But
Well, I'll tell you this too. Out trick or treating tonight with the kids and some of the kids' friends. A couple of libations were had. So some of the takes tonight might be a little hotter than normal.
Libations.
I'm seeing more of, and we're doing it. Personally, is there more of just people leaving the candy in the front, outside the door, than actually knocking on the doors?
Yes, 100%. And you know what? Like we did it because we went like 2 blocks down. So like we had not like 4 blocks down. So we drove because of Penny, but we left the thing out. I think people feel guilty more than anything else, not having anything out there.
Well, so what if somebody just is a scumbag and just takes all the whole bucket?
It's the honor
what it is.
system.
Yeah, it is what it is if that happens.
So we do it
You have to go to
because
the door.
with the dogs, it's just a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I go to the door. We are over under. I said to you guys was 2.5. We just had our third knock 20 minutes ago. So that was right. That Vegas was right on the dot.
Why do you not
2.5.
get kids?
Razor thin.
Dude, they do trunk or treats and they do like parties at people's houses, and so they don't go out a lot around here. And a lot of times it's the younger kids, like the middle school kids. They don't really they do their own thing. They don't really do a lot when they're on our street.
The college kids ain't coming around.
No, they never. They do their own thing on the campus. They don't do anything in the neighborhood.
Well, listen, we got a busy show for you tonight. Last week's episode was a little doom and gloom, and we got a little bit of a more positive show for you guys tonight. It's very hard to backseat a Cowboys-Eagles showdown for first place in the NFC East, but it was outdone this morning when you woke up. But before we get into the James Harden trade, let's talk a little bit about our sponsors, Alex's Pizza and The Rook. Listen, we talk to you every week about these guys, about the best pizza in the city. It's at Alex's Pizza. But tonight I want to talk a little bit about The Rook at 4001 Crescent Avenue in Manioc. Just fantastic bar food. If you're looking for a good spot, not only to go out to watch a game, to get a drink, but even if it's a Saturday afternoon, you want to go get lunch. I was down there the other day. I had the honey hab. You know, it's a chicken cutlet sandwich in hot honey sauce with mozzarella and pickles. It was fantastic. And during Eagles games, they have $20 beer buckets and $12 Philly specials. I really recommend giving both a try, but if you're looking for a lunch spot, hit up the Rook, man. It's a really, really quality establishment down there in Manayunk and great for lunch. And they also offer brunch on the weekends. So go get brunch at like 1 o'clock and then stay for the Birds game at 4.
Good plan.
I think I'm going to be divulging in either some Rook or Alex's tomorrow for lunch. We'll see how it goes. We got a half day. The kids have a half day, but we got to be in there for conferences. So we'll have a lunch. Go over to Alex's.
Let us know how it goes. They post it on Instagram.
I'll tell them I sent me.
I love that. All right, gents. Listen, we've been waiting for the deal to happen for a few months now, and we woke up this morning and it was music to my ears. I sent the text to you guys. I think it was 5 a.m. James Harden.
Yes, and wait, I want to tell you because I wake up at 6:30 and I think it was 26 texts from the two of you. Guess I thought you had the twins.
Oh,
I thought it was.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, I can see how you think that.
No, the Sixers, they trade James Harden, PJ Tucker, and our boy Philip Petrosov, Philip with the F, to the Clippers for Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, Nick Batum, and Robert Covington's homecoming, as well as the big part of the deal, 2 first-round picks, the 2026 Thunder pick and the 2028 Clippers pick, and 2 second-round picks and a pick swap. Gents, what's the biggest part of this deal for you guys?
We could be fans again. I'm so happy. I'm so relieved because the Sixers and James Harden were holding us hostage as fans the way Ben Simmons did also. And so now it's like we can finally root for this team again. We can finally cheer for this team again because let's be honest, you couldn't do it with James Harden in a Sixers uniform. You couldn't. You couldn't be 100% in.
Chris?
So I love the deal. I'm just frustrated at people. People just continuously, especially I've said this before, I love our city, but sometimes there's a handful of people that ruin it for us. And I heard a lot today of, oh, we just sold Harden for a bag of balls and like it's so much bigger than that. And it's such a casual take and such a lazy take to say that. First of all, people act like the Sixers were getting carried by this guy and then they traded him. And now what are we going to do? They're 2-1. They were a point away from being 3-0. Harden never even saw the basketball court. All right. That's number one. Number two, we didn't trade anybody in that deal with Harden that was an impact. Like PJ Tucker had brought decent defense. By no means was he a consistent offensive threat. By no means was he really a consistent defensive threat. So in my opinion, we didn't lose anything in this trade that we already haven't looked like we've progressed beyond anyway. Like, are you really mad that we lost 38-year-old PJ Tucker along with Harden? Petrosov is just a guy. He's not even anything. He's not going to be anything. So I don't understand the flack behind this move. And not only that, the biggest thing for me, Seltzer, to answer your question is we freed up over $100 million that we're going to have this summer to spend on Maxi's re-up and then 2 max players. I don't understand the flack in that. I don't see the negativity. I don't understand the reasoning or the logic behind some people having the negativity behind this trade. Like you said, Al, we got rid of a cloud of BS on and off the court. And I don't understand how you can be negative still about what just transpired in this trade.
Don't even worry. Don't even worry about those people. They don't understand sports. They don't know
exactly. But it's just more. It's more than it should be, and that's the problem that I have with it. It's like it's more than it should be, and it's kind of disappointing because, again, I don't see how anybody could like. What did people expect or want out of this? Like, the Clippers are probably the only team, literally, that we could have talked to in this move for this guy. And so Daryl Morey, to his credit, found a way to still turn James Harden into 2 first-round picks and into what's going to be $100 million to spend basically in the offseason.
Yep.
I'm in.
Well,
And
was
anything we
it
get from those guys is a bonus that we're bringing back in.
was it Daryl Morey? Did you
What
see
do you
those
mean?
leaks that kept out later in the day?
No, I was.
So there was a rumor that was put out there that it was a pretty substantiated rumor.
Did Elton do it?
That Josh Harris
Where's
went to
Chevy?
Daryl Morey and said, "You need to get this deal done." And it was
Okay.
Josh Harris pushing on Daryl Morey that the deal needed to get done today.
There was also not rumors, but there were inklings or conceptions that the league might have even stepped in and said,
That I
"Look,
believe more than
you guys got to do something now. You have the MVP of the NBA on your team. You just went through this same saga with Ben Simmons. We're not going to let you do this again. Like you got to do something now."
And then I saw just about an hour before we went on that the story dropped that the league is not going to further pursue the Sixers as far as an investigation, which is kind of funny timing. If you believe in that conspiracy about the league telling the Sixers that they have to make a move today. But I will say this again to Morey's, if I'm going to support Morey and say it was his doing, the timing does make sense. I mean, you are getting 4 new guys. Obviously, they're not going to probably be able to use all of them, but you're getting new players in a span of time where you have 4 days off. You are getting a situation where it's the beginning of the year. You were still in Harden's ramp-up phase, quote unquote, that you would put him through to start the year. So maybe there was some timing that made sense to having Morey say in his own timeline that this is what he wanted to do. But either way, I don't care if Hocus Pocus told them that that's what they wanted to do. We got it done.
Well, there's one other thing that timing-wise that I think makes a lot of sense, and then I'll give my general thoughts on the deal. But if you watch the first 3 games of the season, Tyrese Maxey forced this trade.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There was they held James Harden out as long as he could. There was going to be a point where James Harden had to take the floor if he was on this roster. Because from a players association standpoint, you can't just suspend the guy for doing nothing. And if he's there and working, he has to play.
Right.
And you can't take the ball out of Tyrese Maxey's hands at this point in time. He's shown that you can argue he's the better player at this point, and he's definitely the better fit with Joel and this offense that they're running now. And we'll get into that in the second part of this segment, what we've seen through the first 3 games. But it got to the point where you can't all of a sudden diminish his role based on what he's done to start the season. It was just not possible.
No.
As far as my thoughts on the overall trade, look, we can't sit here. We sat here when James Harden had the option of opting out, and we said we would be okay with him opting out and signing elsewhere, and the Sixers getting no return. So for us to sit here and say that we're unhappy that they got what they got in the trade, that would be stupid on our part, and it would be
It's so annoying.
completely counteract what we said. With that said, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a win at this point. What it is a step in the right direction. Those 2 picks, Chris, that you mentioned, they are the keys for this trade. The 4 players they got, they might help out, but they're not moving the needle either way. The question is, what do they do with those picks, and what do they turn them into that at the end of the day will determine whether or not this deal was a win or a loss for the Sixers. But to sit here and say it's anything other than, if you sit here and say it's a loss because James Harden isn't on this team, like you guys said, that's just idiotic from anybody's standpoint.
And to say that you didn't get enough for him, who was giving up more than 2 picks, 2 first-round picks, serious second-round picks, and 4 playable NBA guys?
We got more than anybody thought we were going to get.
Absolutely.
And aren't all those guys expiring contracts? These are all
Yes, that's my
movable.
point.
These are all movable pieces. It's all capital, things that we did not have.
Every single one of them is on last year deal, so it's going to free up over. We're going to have over between those guys and then Harden's money. I mean, Tobias's money and a couple other guys we have. We're going to be up $100 million to be able to spend this offseason.
It'll be a little bit less. I actually have the numbers here. So the projected cap next year is $142 million. Right now, the Sixers have Joel Embiid at 51 net for next year. They did not pick up Jaden Springer's option from what I saw today, unless I missed that. So Jaden Springer is not under contract for next year.
He would be restricted, I believe, at that point, wouldn't he?
Okay. And the only other guy, if they make it out of the first round this year, then Paul Reed's contract guarantees. But if they do not make it out of the first round, the only guaranteed contract on this team would be Joel Embiid at $51 million.
Plus, you can go over that salary cap with the apron rules, can't you?
Just to re-sign your own guys. You can't go over it with new players.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So with Maxi's deal, and then that would put you into that apron tax or whatever, and then you'd be able to still have a big chunk of what you just said towards two max players.
Yeah, there's some things where they're called cap holds. I'm not 100% sure how they go, but obviously you can sign the new guys and then sign Tyrese to go over the cap at that point.
Correct.
So there is room there. But again, I don't think it's two max players once they sign the Maxi contract, unless you're counting Maxi as one of those, because you're still going to have to fill out a roster.
Well, in this you got minimum guys, depending on who. But we're not going to there's not going to be two superstar max guys available this year anyway.
Unless it's
one
trades.
specific. Well, yeah, but as far as free agency goes, there's one specific guy that will probably be on his way here. We'll talk about that later on. But
so wait, do you guys think that Daryl Morey makes a trade in season to bolster this team, or is this an off-season type situation where it's a reevaluate?
I think it's an in-season trade, but I'd like to see the Sixers and Daryl Morey be patient. I would like to see them play out with this roster at least another 20 games. I mean, I don't know if that butts up against the deadline, but I want to see, because Tyrese Maxey, in my opinion, right now is the most underrated player in the NBA. And I don't know if it's because of his size or what, but if you just said to a person and you gave the stats without the name, or you showed highlights without the face, like you were able to black out the body and you know what I mean? People would say, wow. But then for whatever reason, when you hear Tyrese Maxey, it's always, well, let's trade him for Dame. Well, let's trade him for this. Well, let's move him for that. He's a future piece. He's not a now. It's like, dude, he's one of the best players in the league already right now. And I know it's only a short sample size with 3 games, but he's showing, I haven't seen that out of control drive to the lane garbage that he's done in the first 3 years in his career. He's under control. He's running the pick and roll well with Joel. I want to see what the two of them can do, because we've tried to make it a big three. We've tried to surround Joel with shooters and superstars, and it has not worked. So maybe the solution is you see what we have working now and then fill in maybe depth pieces and guys that are going to be able to fill in and put up 15, 18, 20 when Joel's in the playoffs and he's having a bad game or he's injured or whatever else. Because we've seen in the past that this 3-man stuff doesn't work for the Sixers for whatever reason. Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, and the list goes on. So I do think they make a trade, but I want them to be patient. I don't want to rush anything.
No, I agree, Al. I think that there's a trade potentially by the deadline looming for these guys. Woj had said that this morning, that from what he's heard is that this move is a part of the bigger picture for this year, to be used to buy or to trade for another piece that would be replacing James Harden as far as his caliber. So we'll see if that plays out. But I wanted to also say too, this move is a big move, and I'm sure he may have had his hands in it also with Nick Nurse. Those guys that we got back, as far as personnel on the court, Nick Nurse loves long, athletic guys who can be interchangeable.
Yeah.
And every single one of those guys that we got are going to be playing between the 3 or the 4. They all have length. They all can shoot. And I think that's right up Nick Nurse's alley for the kind of team that he likes to put on the court. So I think he would definitely – I think we're going to see some of those guys. Like the Tomb we're going to see. Covington I think we're going to see. And Marcus Morris we're going to see.
Marcus Morris is shot. I don't think he's going to play a lot. I think Covington probably ends up being the starter that takes PJ's spot. Maybe not on Thursday night, but I think he ends up being your starter.
Who you say? I'm sorry. Who you say?
Covington, I think, is the guy who's.
You think Covington?
I do.
See, I think Batum, because it gets him another consistent shooter around Embiid.
Is he a good shooter anymore, though, at this point in his career? Like, he's not a good shooter anymore. Yeah, Batum.
You're talking about? Yeah,
he's struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, Chris, they're going to end up playing the same amount of minutes, roughly, give or take. So, but I think Rocco will get the start because I think he's a little bit better defensively.
Listen, nobody's been more polarizing at Wells Fargo Center than Robert Covington. That guy,
he's a different player now, though.
Oh, and it's a different role. So I'm fine with him with this role.
Dust
I
off
think
the
it's
Rocco jerseys.
oh,
Dust them
it's
off. He's going to
it's
get the
gonna be
retire
hilarious.
Sixer. Welcome home, Rocco.
Yeah,
You think
it's
you're
going to
put
be
a
hilarious.
video
All we
back
got to do now is trade for Dario and TJ.
Yeah.
Find where Stauskas is at in the G League, wherever he's hiding at.
I actually think TJ would be a fantastic fit on this team. I still think they need another ball handler.
Not to move on, but Tom McGuire, what's up in the chat? He said that Morey has to trade for someone, and I agree just on the basis of you still have a top 5 player in the world, Joel Embiid, and you have to show them that you're committed to winning right now.
Yeah.
So
you love Embiid, dude.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Dude, this friggin' team, more than any other, just ropes me back in, man. It's unreal.
Let's get into that. Let's get into what we've seen the first 3 games, because it's been a pleasure to watch. They obviously start 2-1. They have a tough loss at Milwaukee in the opener. They lose by 1. I'm not a guy who blames the ref, but the officiating in the last 3 minutes of that game was brutal.
Terrible.
They blew at least 3 calls, all in the Bucks' favor. Then they come out and they have a convincing win in Toronto, and then they have a relatively easy win against Portland, who obviously is not going to be a very good team. But to me, it's just been such a better watch, and I don't know. It could be anything. It could be Nick Nurse's offense and his schemes have made it a lot better to watch. It could be the lack of James Harden dribbling the ball. It could be just the fact that Doc Rivers isn't here. What do you attribute this newfound energy and aesthetically pleasing Sixers first 3 games?
I think you've answered. I mean, you pretty much said all of it already. But even I text you guys this: is it me, or does Joel look even faster this year so far? I feel like Joel actually has a pep in his step in these 3 games.
No, you want to know why he's faster, Chris? Because he stopped falling on the damn floor and have to pick himself up and run down the court all the time. He's not flopping around.
Well, but also to your point with the whole thing about like just having more energy watching this team, maybe he has more energy playing for this kind of team also. I mean, it's very possible, I think. I don't know. I mean, and Tobias looks like a whole new play. Tobias looks fantastic. This is the Tobias that I wanted 5 years ago.
But think about it. Up until last season, right? Because there was no issue with Harden last season. But how many years now in the Embiid era have we had a guy, either Harden this season or Ben Simmons the prior, where there's been a guy that's just been a cancer on the team? I mean, that's got to.
I'm not ready to call James Harden a cancer, because all those guys like James Harden.
No,
Ben Simmons was a cancer. They did not like Ben Simmons.
This season, he was a cancer, dude. Having him sit there on the bench with his hood up, mean mugging everybody, like.
But last year he wasn't.
No, I opened up by saying last year he wasn't. I'm saying this year and the years before. And that, to me, that's the biggest difference why the offense and the team looks like they're flowing better, because they finally don't have a person on the team that's just dragging everyone down.
I don't know if he was I don't know if I'd say he's a kid, because from all accounts, the guys like the guy. The players like Hart. But my thing is, he's not. But he's not. His style of play was a drag. It sucks.
Yep.
And we've said before we got him that you can't win with that style of play. And then we got him, and we tried to lie to ourselves and say, well, maybe we could. Maybe not with him with Joel. Maybe we could fit. And it was still the same old thing. And the Clippers are going to be the same thing. And that's the other thing that pisses me off too. Aside from the hate in our own city about this trade, is the BS love that people have for the trade on the Clipper side. How can you possibly have the support and believe that Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard are going to magically come together, stop load management, stop being all that drama that they bring on and off the court, come together and win a title for the Clippers?
Because it's still a name. People still like to fall for the same old crap. It's the same
Correct.
reason you fall for Kyrie Irving going to the Dallas Mavericks and thinking he's going to turn it around.
And that's exactly my point, Al, is it's just so tiring when people act like Philly people don't know what they're saying or talking about or doing. And it's like, we've seen this. We've already had the foresight to know Harden's done.
It's a shtick.
Washed.
It's a shtick at this point by the national media to pull this shit.
It's so annoying. Even fans too. Like,
it's annoying. Yeah, I agree.
It's like, why would you think that James Harden, like, those are 3 of the biggest, like, fraud. I don't want to say frauds.
No, Kawhi is not a fraud. Kawhi.
No. I don't want to say frauds, but I don't know what the word I'm looking for really is. But like, what I'm trying to say is like 3 of the guys in the biggest in the league who literally let everything get in the way, in their own way of winning at this point in their careers. And then you're going to put them all together?
Yeah.
Well, listen, the Clippers didn't really have any other options. They went all in with Kawhi and Paul George. If you look back at the Paul George trade, it's one of the worst trades in NBA history. They gave up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and I think 6 or 7 first-round picks to get PG. And this is the last year that those guys have together. They both have player options at the end of the year. And if they didn't go all in now, they had nowhere else to go. So, again, I don't think Harden is the answer there. I agree with everything you're saying, but they're going to throw everything at the wall to see if they can make it work at this point.
That sounds like a snooze fest to me. PG, Kawhi, and James Harden.
And
that
don't forget Russ.
Huh?
Don't forget Russ. Russ is still there.
That sounds like such a snooze. That's like
it's the Clippers, though, dude. It's the Clippers. It's like talking about the Rams or some shit in football. No one gives a shit out there about the Clippers. No one cares. I want to talk. So for me, one thing too, Adam, with the offense, they're running more. They're more efficient. Yeah. I mean, everything just looks better. The ball movement, they're getting easy buckets. 92 of their 2-point shots have come from right underneath the basket. They're shooting 64% in that area, which is way better than league average. Embiid, Maxey, Tobias, they're all way more efficient than they've been in their careers. I mean, again, small sample size. We know that, 3 games. But everything in just 3 games has looked so much better than it has in years.
We look more athletic. We look faster, like you said. And guys, I know I've been saying this probably ad nauseum since he got in the league. But did you see the Jaden Springer block that he had? Did you see that block?
It was a man block.
Bro,
that was a man.
This guy is he makes defense in basketball. Like you're excited to see him just block somebody up.
Yeah. Like, unfortunately, I think this trade is going to bury him even further.
I don't know, right? And that's the one thing about it that I do have an issue with is like, where is he going to play? Because he's a guy, energy-wise, defense-wise, he even shot really well in the preseason. He's got to get on the court.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. He looked great in the preseason, but he did play the other night. He picked up 4 fouls in 4 minutes.
Yeah, he's reckless. He's reckless.
And I love Pat Beverly. So, like, I don't want to really take his minutes away either. So I'm a little bit torn myself as to where to put him or how many minutes to give him. But they got to find some way to get him out there.
Our bench right now is a little bit of a mess, though, because we have about 5 guys that are just like, okay.
Yeah.
Pat Beverly, Rocco, Batum, these are guys, Reed. These guys, none of these guys are championship level bench players. Like, we need to upgrade that bench.
Well, but look at the bench now compared to what it was even last year, though. You taking this bench now, or you taking that bench last year?
Well, let me tell you why I'm taking this bench now for one reason. It's a guy that we had questions about, and it's Kelly Oubre Jr. because he seems to fit right in, and he's a huge upgrade over your boy George Niang guest.
I was going to say the athleticism is pronounced without bang bang on the court.
He's like if you took bang bang and shake, put them together, and then gave him like 5 inches.
Yeah. He's been really good, and we've talked about him before, Seltzer, especially the two of us, for a while now with Oubre, and I've always been an Oubre guy. He's going to give you a headache sometime defensively, but you don't need him to be a defensive guy. You need him to do what he's doing, which is score the ball. You got enough defense around him.
I don't think it's more defensively because his defense actually hasn't been bad. It's the shot selection that's the issue, and you know they've gone in at least in the Buck series, but he's not a good shooter. Like you can look at his career numbers,
but he's a scorer.
He's a 33%.
The thing that we get with him that's built in, it's not even our like thing that we got him with a chip on his shoulder because he's pissed that no one wanted him.
Right. I mean, he said it in an interview with Shams the other day is he averaged 20 points per game last year, and he did not get a contract offer the entire offseason. So that shows that people thought his stats were hollow.
He's not efficient.
It also shows you that they're not sold him as a team guy for these organizations.
And he's got a lot to prove. But listen, and I think that he's going to shoot us out of some games. Like that's going to be the case. He's 0 for his last 10 from 3. Like he's just not a great shooter. But what's pleasing about watching Kelly Oubre is we haven't had a player like that can get to the rim, that can drive and be athletic off the bench ever. It seems like who is the last guy who could do stuff that he does? The way he cuts
the Sixers, and he can give you 30 in a game. He doesn't he's an average out, obviously, but he can give you 30 if you need. Like he can have those games where like a Jordan Clarkson or someone like that where they can come off the bench and win you a game too.
And if he shoots us out of a game, it means nobody else did their job. Like
Correct.
he should never be the reason why we lost the game.
Right.
One guy that I hope sticks around, Philly guy. You guys know who I'm going to say, Marcus Morris.
Yeah.
No, but let me tell you why I hope he sticks around. Do you guys remember the 2020 playoffs? Him and Mr. Porzingis went at it.
Oh.
I hope they keep him on the bench just for that reason. Keep him as the 12th man. Then eventually, when we see Boston again, because we're going to see them again in the playoffs, just put him out there to play a little bully ball to go scare that little.
Well, and also maybe put him out there to throw something at Jokic again.
No, it was the other brother. I think it was the other one.
Well, but still, he still has his twin brother. They're still going to ride for each other. So now he's got his own city behind him for that.
Seltzer, you want to read the chat?
Ernie Ivanhoe, known fan of the pod, says the Sixers should incorporate Kelly green and silver uniforms, powder blue and burgundy, and orange and black combinations. So he wants this ain't Pittsburgh, dude. We all don't ride with the same colors. It's not all black and gold.
I did have a maroon and blue Sixers alternate in 2K21, I think it was, that I created. That was pretty dope.
I don't want to talk too much about this, but the court reveals for that stupid in-game tournament are just as bad as the concept of the tournament itself.
Don't get me started.
Disgusting, dude.
I don't think that was that bad.
The Sixers court
all red.
It's different. What do you
All right. Listen, take it when you're at that game. Take a picture for us. Let us see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a different look. And the tournament, I don't have a problem with the tournament. It's different.
They might be coming out wearing the orange.
Americans.
They might be coming out wearing an orange and black uniform that game.
Listen, all in all, it's been a very encouraging start. I mentioned earlier, I think the two things I've seen from Embiid specifically are he's not hitting the floor nearly as much. He's not hunting for fouls. If you look at his foul shots per game, he got there a decent amount against Portland, but I think his other two games he was single digits. He's trying to make buckets with it being more efficient and not flopping around, which I thought's been great. But defensively, he's been way more engaged, and he's actually trying to block shots. He's jumping. I think he got into this point where it was stand there with your hands up and try and affect as many shots as possible and then get back and rebound the basketball. And it got to the point where defensively he wasn't as efficient as he once was because standing there, people got the message that that's what he was going to do. Now he's jumping, and these shots that these guys are taking are nowhere near the hoop when he's going up.
That's kind of my point earlier what I was saying. He looks faster. He just looks more engaged.
Right.
And we've always all said, and I mean, anybody that has a basketball IQ would say the same thing, that when Joel Embiid's engaged, there's very few, if any, guys in the league that are better than he is. And
I guess. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, so I don't know if it's Nick Nurse and what they're doing in these practices or their new philosophy as far as their team structure is concerned or whatever it is, but he looks very, very much engaged this year. And one more thing I want to say to you before you go out. With Maxey, what you were saying about all the positive parts of his game that we've seen already in the first three games. My worry was how he's going to play now that teams are going to zone in on him defensively. So far, it hasn't mattered. He's even looked better, but his range is really ridiculous. Like he's quietly gotten to be one of the best long distance shooters in the league.
He's
like consistent shooters.
And not only that, but he's definitely tightened up his handle a little bit.
Yes.
He had that one play, I think it was against Toronto, where they trapped him at half court and he had that step through crossover and got to the rim with his left hand. But Chris, to your point, what his range does is when he can get out to that Dame Lillard area and you have to guard him out there, he's so fast that if he turns that corner, like there's no stopping him at that point. So when you have to guard him out that far, it's just really, he's just a really tough guard at this point. And credit to him because he came in as, being known as a non-shooter and he's become one of the best shooters in the entire league. And he can do it off the dribble.
He's a workaholic. That's clearly, and maybe that's the best thing that Harden did while he was here was work on that with Maxey as far as that step back jump shot from distance because he really has looked like he's done a lot more since Harden came here. So I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt that he kind of gave him some tips on that. But he's been fantastic. I mean, he's got a full arsenal at this point where he can score anywhere on the court.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation when we were bashing Embiid at the end of last season about how he doesn't make players better. And the players that we mentioned that he got made better were Seth Curry and JJ Redick. And the skill set that both of those guys had was they could come off of Joel's screens on a dribble handoff and fire that three off balance, going left, going right. And they were great shooters. And Tyrese can make that shot. And I think James Harden couldn't.
Right. And not only that, but we've even seen, like I was saying earlier, Tobias has looked fantastic. Tobias has looked so relaxed and like in his bag, trying to get the bag, by the way. And that's probably part of it too. But he's looked so like, I'll tell you what, if he has a good season, depending on how market shapes out, I don't know if I'd be opposed to giving him an extension. Not obviously for that money he's getting now. But I wouldn't be opposed to working out something with him to keep him on board. Again, depending on what the market is. But
Tobias in this offense just looks so effortless. And it's always forced in the last 5 seasons. I just want to get back real quick to Maxey and just point out he's obviously committed to getting better and to making his weaknesses strengths and to making his strengths things that make him unbeatable. We talk about aliens in this league. And I think he's on his way to becoming one of those aliens in this league. And when we get to a point in the season, and we know when it is, it's the playoffs, when Joel Embiid goes into his shell, we need Tyrese to step up and be that guy. We see Denver do it with Jokic and Jamal Murray, and Jamal Murray steps up and becomes that guy in the playoffs. And Jimmy Butler for the Miami Heat steps up and becomes that guy in the playoffs. And Chris Middleton did it a few seasons back from Milwaukee. And I think that Tyrese Maxey can do it. And I think that they need to continue to run the offense through him and Joel, a combination of the two. His career, his usage numbers at a career high right now, Tyrese Maxey, and so
like
are Joel.
Or something, isn't it?
So are Joel. Yeah, they're both up there. He's like high 20s and Joel's like mid 30s, I want to say. But Maxey's confidence, we just need to continue to build it because we need him to be a guy who can not just be a nice piece. He needs to be a guy that can take over in the playoffs. And Little Ern in the chat is saying that Maxey reminds him of an Allen Iverson with his quickness to the hoop. Listen,
with a better jump shot,
right? More efficient. Now, I'm not going to sit here and compare anybody to Allen Iverson. He was one of
one. No. But his long range jumper is definitely more consistent than AI's was. Right. AI had a great mid range, but Maxey's long distance is definitely more lethal than AI. And I don't even know if he's dare I say he might be quicker than Iverson. Not necessarily faster, but quicker than AI.
I'm not really
what we can definitely say is this. He is the most explosive guard we've had since Iverson, and that's without question.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to Iverson about Maxey. I'd love to see what he says.
You'd love to talk to Ernie about Maxey. I guess he's right here.
Well, that too. I'd love to do that. The other thing I was going to say too was regarding Maxey. Al, you hit it right on the head. He's a guy that Philly can love for a long time, and he always has that Philly mentality of wanting to work.
Yeah,
he wants to put the work in. He wants to get better, and he's such a likable kid, and man at this point, but he's a likable guy, and he's given us every reason, even if not just for him, to still not give up on this team, because from a human element, if you give up on this team, you're kind of giving up on a guy like that, and he makes it hard for you to walk away from the TV or walk away from those tickets or walk away from whatever with the Sixers, because he's such a likable and skilled player that we have, and we haven't had many of those of his skill set.
Well said. Well said. Listen, I hate to overreact as Sixers fans. We've done it many times. We're only 3 games into the season.
I had him as a 2 seed off the bat.
And there's a listen, it's always easy for players to show a lot of energy the first couple of weeks. We're going to see what happens come January when the doldrums hit and we get a little bored, and we'll be, like you said last week, Chris, they'll get hot. We'll praise them. They'll get cold. We'll bash them. And that's just the way it works. But
next, he'll have 8 points on 3 for 20, and then we'll say he was overrated next week.
Joy of
he's too small. He's not meant to be a number 2.
The joy of an 82-game season.
Yeah,
absolutely. But at least it's a good start, and it should be very exciting to at least get into. Any closing thoughts before we move on to the other Philadelphia team?
I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this new team again. We've already been 2-1 and 1 point away from being 3-0 with the team we had, and now we're adding a couple pieces that we can definitely use. And I'm looking for, and it's a coach that we trust to put them in the right spots.
Just gonna say that, guest, and that's because that was the other black cloud hanging over this team was Doc Rivers.
Right.
He was I think he's more of a cancer than Harden. You don't talk about cancers. I think that guy was the cancer.
He was because Harden wasn't last season. He only was in the offseason and obviously in the start of this season. Doc's been horrible. God.
So unimaginative. His offense and his style of play.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing to see cuts and dribble handoffs.
Pick and rolls and that are like with the right combo of guys and right roles for guys and things like that.
Yep. All right, let's jump into Eagles-Cowboys. You mentioned it's going to be a battle for first place, but before we do, Chris, you want to talk about SeatGeek?
Yeah. So speaking of Sixers, and we're about to talk about the Eagles and Cowgirls. Best deals on any event here in Philly: sports, concerts, comedy shows, you name it. SeatGeek has you covered. 3K Podcast is the promo code for $20 off your first purchase. Like I said, we talk about Maxey. We talk about the new boost in Embiid's game. No better place to see it than down there yourself at the stadium. You can get there with SeatGeek app. Tickets are very affordable. Again,
shit gets very affordable.
It's real, son. Again, 3K Podcast is your promo code. Look to see I can't talk tonight. Look forward to seeing you down there. So get your tickets today.
And how you use the code?
I used it, and guess what? It works.
Yeah.
I got $20 off. I'll be down there. Guess you're going to be there. I'll be down there on Monday with Jackson.
Yeah. Have a beer or some.
All right, I'll text you. I'll text you and listen to the listeners. It works. $20 off. You want to go on Monday, President's Day, Election Day is the next day, so you might have off from work. Get down there. I got in the door. I think it was for $16 a ticket.
There you go.
Steal.
It's a steal. And nobody's going to be there. I'm going to move
that,
my
the Wizards?
Right down the first
Wizards
level
game?
at halftime.
Yeah, Wizards.
Very good.
Get
Yeah,
to see
man.
your boy Kuzma.
Speaking of geeks, you can see a lot of the Wizards on that night.
Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole. Oh, Jesus.
That's
my guy, though. That's my
Yeah.
How could you like Jordan Poole? Come on, dude.
He's such a playground dude. Like, I don't care. I'm just shooting 45 shots a game, however I want to play it.
Eagles moved to an NFL best 7-1. We didn't get a chance to talk to them last week, but they have wins over the Miami Dolphins 31-17, as well as the Commanders 38-31. They continue to win games, although it doesn't necessarily look that pretty per se, a lot of people are saying, but they still have the number 3 ranked offense in the NFL. They have the number 8 ranked defense in regards to yards. However, the issue has been turnovers. They've turned the ball over 13 times this year. There's only 5 teams that have turned it over more, and they happen to come at very, very bad times, including
Get out the way now.
Inside the 10-yard line. Gents, the meat of the schedule is coming up. I want to talk about that, but let's at least get your thoughts on the 2 wins and the overall play right now currently of the Philadelphia Eagles. Chris?
So, listen, a win is a win in the NFL. It is tough to win in the National Football League. We are fortunate enough, maybe even spoiled enough, to have a team like the Eagles right now where we're used to them winning. I think Jalen Hurts' record, actually even more than that, Sirianni's record is like 31-12 or something like that since he's been the head coach of the Eagles. We have grown accustomed now to just waking up on Sundays and winning games, and that's truly a blessing. But the way that they're winning is like people are saying, well, are we a running team? Are we a passing team? You don't really have an identity. And if you look at it glass half empty, that's one way to look at it. But if you look at it glass half full, we can beat teams any way they want to play. If you want to play where you want to run the ball and have a running game, we can run with you. If you want to play where you want to pass the ball down the field, we can pass with you. If you want to play a game where our defense is going to have to knuckle up and pop somebody in the mouth, we can do that. So there's different ways that they've won different games this year. And this week was no different. We could have sat here and years before had a game like Sunday, and we'd have found a way to lose that game. this team, this coach, this quarterback, we find ways to win these games now. And I don't think that's talked about enough. I think that we're so accustomed to gravitating to negativity, again, with football, just like basketball. And listen, a win is a win. I don't even care anymore how we win. Is it frustrating at times? Sure. But we still won the game. I'm not going to sit up there in a week where we only have 18 weeks of NFL season in a regular season. And these games are precious, each one of them. So when you win one, you should enjoy it. That's how I look at it.
I am not necessarily a big fan of a win is a win mentality when you are a team with championship aspirations and you're under the microscope a little bit more, and everyone's picking apart every little thing that much more because the imperfections stand out that much more. 2 weeks ago, I said that Jalen Hurts had obviously regressed from last season. And in that time, since the loss to the Jets, all Jalen Hurts has done is gone out there and thrown 52 of 69, 75% completion rate for 598 yards, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception, and has promptly shut me up. He looks better. The offense looks better. We have an absolutely unstoppable force at wide receiver in AJ Always Open Brown, who looks to be potentially maybe the best receiver in the NFL. If you want to say
he's in the MVP discussion,
as he should be, because he's en route to 2,000 yards on the season. The only other guy right now that can hold a candle to him is Tyreek Hill. And if you want to say Tyreek Hill is better, that's fine. I'm not going to argue it. But those two guys are clearly the best 2 receivers in the league. Look, this team is dangerous. This team is the most well put together team on all sides of the football in the league. And guess, when you say a win is a win, and we talk about schedule and we nitpick things here and there, we just saw San Francisco drop 3 straight games. I mean, we're seeing these.
Say it for those in the back. Say it for those in the back.
I don't want to talk about Brock Purdy this week, guest. We're seeing these so-called juggernauts in the NFL either lose or win in ugly fashion. I mean, Kansas City just lost at Denver. I mean,
that game was awful.
Absolutely terrible. So when the Eagles just keep on churning out these wins, as sometimes they might make it look a little harder than we anticipated. Chris, at this point, I'm with you, man. I'm ready to say a win is a win.
You gotta, dude. You've got especially this year when it's so wide open. This is, by the way, I guess this might be a hot take. This is the year a non-QB is going to win MVP. It might not be, if it's not AJ, it might be McCaffrey or whoever. Quarterback play this year has not been to the level of definitively an MVP anywhere in the league, and that includes Hurts.
That's true.
So I think this is the year where and Justin Jefferson hasn't played enough to be considered at this point because of his injury. So it's very possible. I haven't seen the latest odds. Al, I don't know if you or Seltzer, one of you, if you've seen it.
I'll pull it up.
But I can't imagine A.J. Brown being I mean, you might even see a defensive player in the conversation by the end of the year, whether it's T.J. Watt or one of the Bosa's.
I think it'd be Myles Garrett before anyone.
Myles Garrett. Yeah, he's another one. Because, like, the quarterback play has been kind of suspect around the league. Not in the least, it's been inconsistent.
It's funny you say that. The top 7 guys on FanDuel are all quarterbacks.
And
they're defending themselves against what'll probably become of it. But the top 4 at least are Mahomes at plus 270, Jalen Hurts at plus 350, Tua at plus 370, and then Lamar at plus 600.
See, to me, if you put Tua there, Tyreek has to be above. Tyreek
Why?
is the reason. Tyreek's the reason for Tua more than half of Tua's numbers.
You can say the same thing about A.J. Brown. You
I
could.
No, because Jalen Hurts has a running game too that he can go to. Tua can't run the ball like Jalen can.
But okay,
Jalen's going to finish. He's still going to finish with probably at least 500-600 yards rushing still.
Okay, and Tua throws the ball to some other people as well, just because he doesn't throw.
I'm saying that's going to be that will be the difference for me for putting Hurts in as an MVP over Tua.
I know, but Tua's passing numbers are way better than Hurts's.
Right. So I think
Tua leads the league in passing yards and touchdowns.
Right.
at this
I
moment.
just feel like a lot of that is. I mean, whatever. We can talk about that. That's a different argument, I guess. But and I'm not. I don't mean to take anything away from Tua as far as like he's not playing well. He's playing well, but I just think that when you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, and on the other side of him, you got another guy that runs a 4.38 in Jalen Waddle. Like, I mean, it's a track meet.
I hear you, but let's not. And listen, I'm not saying Tua is an MVP over Hurts. All I'm saying is Jalen Hurts has got damn good weapons all over the field as well. So you can't just say that Tua has Tyreek Hill so he doesn't deserve it. Like that's not fair when Jalen Hurts has AJ Brown, Devontae Smith.
No, they have weapons too. But I mean, I just feel like if you had a game to win, I'm still picking Hurts over Tua.
That's fine. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that.
I don't want to railroad this and turn this into MVP talk, but I don't know where he is in the odds. But Joe Burrow would be a nice little pick.
He's in that top 7.
Okay, because he's over his 4-game hibernation that happens every year, and now he's right back to.
He wasn't healthy either. People forgot he wasn't healthy in the beginning of the year.
Right,
and that's clear by how he played and how the team played. And as he goes, that team goes. Now he's getting hot again, and they've won what 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
You want to know how? This is where we talked in the preseason when I gave my pick about McCaffrey. AJ Brown is 180-1 currently to win MVP. Do you know who the person right below him is? Jordan Love.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's
kind of ridiculous. And that's updated.
I mean, you can make the bet on it right now at FanDuel. We're giving FanDuel plenty of plugs. Definitely.
Maybe we shouldn't if that's the case.
AJ Brown 180-1, same odds as TJ Watt, and Jordan Love is 200-1.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's broken.
But guess what? They're gonna have a say in who wins. Vegas is gonna have a Vegas. I mean, that's just how it works.
Well, and again, it's a quarterback award. That's at the end of the day, AJ Brown could go for 1,900 yards, but he probably still isn't going to get the MVP. It's just
if you had the odds of most outstanding player or best offensive player, I bet you it would be probably a little bit different. Which is to your point, it's a skewed award at that point if they're going to just put any QBs up there before positional players because that's what they want to do.
Well,
offensive to your point, offensive player of the year, AJ Brown's number 3 right now. Tyreek Hill's the favorite, and Christian McCaffrey second.
At the end of the day, though, nobody here is going to argue who the most valuable player on a football field is. It's the quarterback.
Right.
So I mean, if you're going by the definition of the word, then it kind of always has to be the quarterback.
I wanted to get into the schedule coming up because this is what we looked at in the preseason. We're looking at the schedule. This is where it gets a little bit meaty. So the next 6 weeks, Dallas, at Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas, at Seattle. What is your prediction for how they come out of those 6 games? Al, why don't you start us off?
Well, 7-1 is exactly where I thought they'd be at this point. I believe Chris and I both had them at 7-1. Adam, I think you had them at 6-2. But now, like you said, the meat of the schedule is coming up. And originally, I want to say I might have had them at 3-3 at this part of the schedule going through it. I think they beat the Cowboys this week. I still think they lose to the Chiefs out of the bye.
After what you saw Sunday?
Yeah, I know, but it's still like it's still
2 weeks to prepare for them.
The NFL is so week to week.
Yeah, man. It's an everything game for Kansas City. It's Andy out of the bye. They're still one of the best 3 teams in the league. Like, you got to give them the respect they deserve. And I know we talked about this before. If they win that Kansas City game, they're probably going to lose that Bills game at home the next week because it's just so hard to play at that high of a level week in and week out. Kansas City, Buffalo, San Fran, Dallas, Seattle is a ridiculous stretch of football. Let me finish up. I think they beat the Bills and the Niners at home. I think they take care of business. I think they drop the game at Dallas, division road game. I don't think they go 6-0 on the season in the division. And then I think they actually, which I had as a loss, I think they actually win at Seattle then the week after Dallas. So 4-2 for me.
I didn't make any official prediction, but I have in my notes 4-2 is an absolute win, and 3-3 is perfectly fine.
I agree
with this.
So so you said 4-2, that will put them at what, 11-3?
Yes, and with a stranglehold on the NFC at that point.
Yeah,
right,
unless Fran already has 3 wins now.
The only way they lose the stranglehold is if 2 of those losses are Dallas. That would be.
That's what I was going to say. Especially if 2 of the wins are one is against Dallas and one is against San Fran, it's a stranglehold.
Right.
I think that they're going to lose one game, and it's going to be either the Dallas game at Dallas or the Seattle game. And I'll stay consistent with what I said at the beginning of the year. I think they could lose one of those two games. But this is what I've been waiting for. I can't wait for this stretch of games because, first of all, as a fan, every one of these games matters and means something. So we're not going to have those games in the middle of the year where we're playing the Bears or we're playing, a miscellaneous team in the AFC like the Chargers or something like that we don't really care about that's meaningless. Every one of these games matters. And after what the BS we did hear last year about the schedule and this and that, these guys are looking to prove everybody's still wrong for acting like they were just getting by because they're playing a bunch of popcorn state teams. And as someone that was an advocate for them last year, I can't wait even that much more this year for him to play these teams and show, like, I definitely didn't forget that. I know if they're playing, they didn't forget it. Especially the 49ers game when they were just saying, like, oh, well, we would have beat you if we had a quarterback. Well, now you have your quarterback. He's lost you 3 games in a row. You made a trade. And by the way, same thing we talked about with the Clippers earlier with the bogus takes, like, nationally. Same thing already. Putting San Francisco above the Eagles because they got Chase Young today in the trade deadline is just ridiculous. The Eagles made a good move. It wasn't on the actual deadline date. We made a good move getting Byard. All right. And Roby is still going to end up being a good move. And we're 7-1. They got to come get us. We're 7-1. So they got to make the moves. We already have a complete roster. We already are the best record in the league. They got to come to get us. We don't got to go to get them.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. The only thing I'll say is, you mentioned Purdy lost in 3 games. We've talked about this Eagles team and how much Lane Johnson means to them and the effect he's had. San Francisco's been without Trent Williams the last 2 weeks, who means just as much to them as Lane Johnson means to the Eagles. So, again, no excuse. Purdy has not played well, and they've lost some games that they shouldn't. But losing that guy is a big-time loss. And they've also been without Debo, obviously, as well. Before we get into predictions, I just want to take a status update of the NFC. We're almost halfway through the season at this point. I think I looked through the NFC, and I have a really, really tough time coming up with 7 playoff teams. So I figured we could power rank these teams. I'll give you mine at this point. I have the Eagles as number 1 in the NFC. I still have San Fran at number 2. Again, they added Chase Young. I think if they got to get healthy, but health has been a problem for that team for a long period of time between McCaffrey and Debo, George Kittle, Trent Williams. Like, they've always had problems staying healthy. I still think they're the second best team in the NFC. Then I go Detroit, Dallas, Seattle as 3, 4, and 5. And then I don't know where you go at that point after that. Yeah. I put Minnesota at 6. They picked up Josh Dobbs today. If Kirk Cousins was still there, I think they're definitely the 6th best team in the NFC. But their upcoming schedule is Atlanta, New Orleans, Denver, Chicago, Las Vegas. So there's room for them to,
without a quarterback, without Jefferson, they're just as bad as those teams.
I know, but their defense has been pretty good this year. And okay, so I'm curious to see who you have over them because, again, I think just the rest of the NFC is terrible. So go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I obviously you start with the Eagles at 1. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Detroit's number 2 right now. I really do. I think that their roster and what they've done, I trust them to win games more than I trust any other team aside from the Eagles right now in the conference. Dallas is probably 3. San Fran is 4. I'm just going with the cuff here. And then I guess I go.
You have to go Seattle at that point.
Seattle's 5. Then it gets wild. Then I don't know. I mean, I guess
the Rams are terrible.
I guess you go Atlanta.
Throw Atlanta out there. That's fine.
Woo. I don't know. I mean,
you go New Orleans if you want to go to New Orleans. They're also not good.
Yeah, no, New Orleans.
You got Tampa, the Rams. Like it's ugly, dude.
Yeah.
And 2 of those teams are going to make the playoffs. Obviously, the NFC South winner is going to be one of them. And then the other one's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a Minnesota or a New Orleans or Atlanta or something along those lines. It's going to be pretty ugly. Al, what do you got?
I have Eagles at 1. I have Detroit at 2. I have the 49ers at 3. The Cowboys at 4, the Seahawks at 5, and then 6. I went back and dude, at one point I considered Washington. I was just like looking through these teams. I'm like, who the hell is the 6th best
They've
team?
only been playing well against us. That's it.
Yeah, so that's what kind of confused me.
Yeah.
So with a question mark in my notes, I have the Saints. And the reason I settled on that is because of the point differential. They're the only team in the South with a plus point differential, a positive point differential. But dude, if you want to argue Minnesota, that's fine. I don't care. Again, Washington or the Rams, all these teams stink.
And I want to go back real quick and correct one thing because I forgot the 49ers beat up Dallas this year. So I'll put Dallas as 4 and San Fran as 3 because of that.
Well, and I still have the Lions at 2 on the strength of their week 1 win. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they've only lost. I mean, they've lost what? They lost to Seattle. So that's a feather in Seattle's cap. They won in Detroit. And they lost to who was the other team they lost
They
to?
got Baltimore smashed them, but that was a scheduled
in a row.
loss. Like they were ready for a loss.
That was absolutely a scheduled loss. Yeah. So I mean, they've looked pretty good for the
They've
most
been
part,
very
except
good.
for that game.
They've been very good. All right, gents, before we move on to segment 3, it's time for our locks of the week brought to you by Saxers. Al, you want to give him a shout out?
Yes, sir. So Saxer's Pub over at 148 Saxer Ave in my current residence of Springfield, Pennsylvania, where today one of my colleagues and I, both from Springfield, took home 1st and 2nd place in our annual chili cook-off at my school. So Springfield was well represented in the chili cook-off. But we're not talking about chili today. We're talking about chili beers over at Saxers. And if you go there right now, they just put up some new specials during Sixers games. Go over there, listen, tell Ryan that I'm slacking on the specials. Tell him the 3K podcast sent you. But you need to know what the specials are because you got to get in there and you got to get some drinks in your belly. You know, the Sixers got 82 games this season. We got 79 left. So I'm sure I'll see you over there from one of them. Saxers Pub, 148 Saxer Ave in Springfield.
I forgot before we do our locks of the week to give predictions on the Eagles-Cowboys.
That's what I thought you were heading towards. So you
My
caught me
bad.
off guard a little because I was going to look those specials up.
My bad.
So while I give
I
the predictions-
sabotaged.
yeah, you guys give your predictions. I'll give mine first, and then I'll look up the specials. My prediction is an Eagles dominating victory. I think it's a 34-20 win. The Cowboys' best win was a 3-point nail biter at the Chargers. Other than that, they've beaten no one. The Giants, the Jets, the Pats, and the Rams. Dallas has run game issues. Tony Pollard has looked pedestrian at best, averaging less than 4 yards per carry. Their top 2 receivers combined don't have as many yards as A.J. Brown does on his own, and there's a lot of teams in the league that can say that, obviously. So I think that the Cowboys, other than that 3-point win, every one of their games has been a lopsided affair, and I think that this is going to be another one. So 34-20, and this is a little bit of a prelude to my best bet this week.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm gonna say, and I'm pulling this around my butt, but I'm gonna go. I agree with everything you're saying there, Al, but I think it's Eagles Dallas, so it's always going to be highly competitive, especially when they play here. I'm gonna still say it's a tight game. I'm gonna say like 28-24 or 28-25. Maybe there's a 25 spot that we get in this game.
Little score-gami.
A little score, yeah, maybe, possibly. I just feel like it's going to come down to one possession, or if not, maybe something where Dallas has to score a field goal to send it to OT, or a touchdown to win the game, or something like that at the end. Like, I think it's going to be a tight game still, and I think that Dak's going to let them down at the end. So I'm taking the Birds, but in a tight one.
All right, I'm going to hold off on my pick until we get to the Saxers segment. Did you figure out the specials?
Oh, no. I don't like that, Seltzer. So I didn't find the specials, but Saxers has gift cards available. So go down there and get a gift card. Tell them that the 3K podcast sent you.
There you go. All right, let's get to our Saxers locks of the week. I'll go at the end because I got a little rant I want to go on before my pick. So let's go to Chris first for your lock of the week.
So this week, my lock of the week, or as we call it, the bait biter, is the Miami Dolphins at +2. And I'm talking the way I am because I honestly forget. What I do is I put the pick in, but I don't put the game.
Kansas City Chiefs in Germany.
Kansas? Yeah,
That's right. It's in Germany. That's right. It's the Chiefs. So I don't like what I saw last week with the Chiefs. I haven't liked the Chiefs all at this point really all year. I put my bet on the Chiefs last week, thinking that Denver stunk that bad. And once again, the Broncos find a way to make anybody look bad. So along with themselves. It wasn't a pretty game on either team's part. But Miami obviously has some firepower. And I just don't like the Chiefs' offensive weapons this year. It's a two-man show. And I think Miami's going to outscore them. Bottom line, I think it's just going to be the kind of game where Kansas City's going to have too much to try to come back from, and even if they make it tight, it's not going to be enough to win the game. So I'm going to say Miami +2.
Al, you hinted at it.
I'm not going to say all the stuff I just said again. I got Eagles given 3 against the Cowboys. I just think we're the far better team right now in the season. I have them losing in Dallas about a month out from now. So I think that it's maybe more of a home and home thing. But yeah, I just see this as being a romp. We're rolling right now.
I hope you're right. One more thing, too, Cells, before you go. Shame on the NFL for taking a home game away from the Kansas City Chiefs, by the way. That's kind of ridiculous. That's one of their prime stadiums in the league, prime home field advantages, and they just took a game from those folks and put it in Germany, who doesn't even care about football.
For the record, we did not go 3-0 again last week. Another losing week on the lock of the week at 1-2 for us.
Not really a lot of locks in there, is it?
I lost right out of the chute on Thursday.
I hit, but I was the only one. Let me say this though. If you follow us on Twitter, we do 5 picks a week. Betting in the NFL is impossible. It's impossible. Guys, I made a list of the quarterbacks who threw a pass this weekend. You ready for this?
Oh, God. Who's the DeVito kid on New York?
I put them in 3 categories. I'm going to start off with trash, but locked into a starting role. Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo, Sam Howell, Will Levis, Jordan Love, Russell Wilson. And then I have second tier. I have quarterbacks who really suck and are starting because they have no better options. Matt Jones, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, Josh Dobbs. And then I have just pure trash. Gardner Minshew, Mitchell Trubisky, Zach Wilson, Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito, Jaron Hall, Brett Rippon, PJ Walker, Tyson Bagent. All of those guys played quarterback this week. How are you supposed to bet NFL games with those guys playing quarterback?
Hold on. All jokes aside, who's Jaron Hall?
He was the backup for who got hurt? Let me look up. Somebody got hurt.
I had never heard of that guy. I don't even know who that is.
Oh, he was the Vikings guy. He was the Vikings guy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jaron Hall?
Here's how you bet it. Guest made me stop betting over-unders. You bet the freaking under anytime one of these teams plays each other.
Right.
With that said, my lock of the week. Did you guys know that Dak Prescott is 8-3 lifetime against the Philadelphia Eagles?
I did, but those games that go ahead.
Did you know that Dak Prescott took the wood to guest in our fantasy league this week with a 37-point outing?
Dude, don't even get me started. How do you cut Dak Prescott in fantasy?
Well, you could have picked them up.
No, but still, like, how's that even a thing? People were probably shocked. That's why did anybody even bet on him?
No, I was the only one because I needed
exactly. They were probably shocked that he was even available.
With that said, I don't trust Dak Prescott in a big game. I got the Eagles showing out, like Al said. I got the Eagles 31-21. I'm laying the 3 points. I think I'm not sold on this Cowboys team. I don't think they're that good. I think the Eagles step up to their competition. So I got the Birds. I'm with you, Al. So we got to, if we hit, we're 2 out of 3 right there.
Easy. That's what we should do every week. Just load up on one team.
What was the point of that stat?
I was setting you up. I wanted to get you a little fired up in the beginning there.
We got Top Shelf Sports Talk in the chat that says bet based on defense. Well, guys, we haven't been doing that. So if you haven't,
maybe we should be.
Send some tips in the chat our way.
Yeah, we need all the tips we can get. So appreciate it, Top Shelf.
3K and 3K podcast. That's not our bankroll. That's for sure.
I want to do one more shout out. I've been putting up on our Twitter page and our Instagram page my NBA prop bet of the week. We're 4-3 going into tonight. RJ Barrett did me dirty tonight. I needed 19 points from him, and he scored 15 in the first half and then scored 1 in the second half. So 4-4 now, but got some pretty good statistical data. So make sure you're following us there, especially if you like to play some prop bets. So we'll be doing that as many nights as we can moving forward. All right, let's get into segment 3. We're going to have a little fun, a little Halloween talk. But before we do, Al, you want to hit us up with some Righteous Felon?
Certainly. So Righteous Felon, if you tuned in, what was it, a couple weeks ago, you saw Seltzer chomping away on his Righteous Felon. Listen, if you haven't been to the website, righteousfelon.com, they have gift bundles available. You know, the holiday season is right around the corner. You can order yourself a gift bundle. I'm looking right now at the whole shebang craft jerky gift bundle. You're getting like 17 different types of jerkies. They got something called biltongs. I don't even know what that is. They got meat sticks. You want to try a meat stick?
Pick them up.
Go ahead and place your order today. OCSN is the promo code. It gets you 15% off your order. And if you spend more than $50, you're getting the whole thing shipped for free. So go get yourself a whole shebang and enjoy some Righteous Felon beef jerky. When, Chris?
Today.
All right, gents. We talked about it earlier. Al, you're out trick-or-treating with the kids tonight. It is Halloween. Last year we did a segment where we were talking a lot of candy, so I wanted to go and veer off of that. Let's get into some Fright Fest. Let's talk about the things that frighten you as a grown adult. And so I just want to. There's not going to be a draft. It's not going to be a list. It's just going to be let's shoot the shit and talk about the things that scare us. So
and listen, let's hit the couch. Like let's just go like full psycho mode, full psychologist.
Yeah, if we gotta solve some problems here tonight, we're gonna do that.
We gotta shed tears. We gotta shed tears.
Should we make sure the guest understands the segment before he starts? Because yesterday at Wawa there was a woman behind me talking on speakerphone on her phone. All I could think of was how guest doesn't understand that.
What?
Like when we did the things we don't understand segment, and you just listed pet peeves.
Yeah. You know what grinds my gears?
Listen, it was my idea to do this. I'll start. Things that frighten me at my age, feeling even the slightest twinge in my body, whether it's my back or my ankle or my foot, because it's at 38 years old, you know that's coming back the next day. So there is no bigger fear than when, especially my back, man, I'll feel a little bit and then I'll feel fine, but I know the next morning that it could go any which way. So when you feel that little twinge, man, at this age, it's just rough and it's scary.
As a guy whose back has went out on him, oh God, I have to be up to like a dozen plus times. Now it hasn't in many years, but when it did, and it was happening to me, I would say once every 3 months or so. Dude, that initial jolt where I knew it was going out and there was nothing I could do about it was the word. It's depressing because you're laying there, you can't move, and you're just saying to yourself, "Is this going to end? Is this going to be the time where it never goes back to normal?" So yeah, dude, that is an absolute fear as we get into the middle-aged portion of our lives here at the age of 38.
And you know the majority of the time that the next morning is going to be the worst of it. So you're just waiting for it to kind of get to that point, which is the worst part.
And it's even because it leaks into your everyday life. Like you start to second guess being able just to do things that like you would have done without any thought. We have a staff volleyball tournament every year, and every year one teacher goes down with like some sort of moderate to major injury. Like there was like a broken hip one year. And I'm just like, man, like I really don't want that to be me, but I have no
control. Said that we just had the email the other day for ours. Same thing with volleyball. I was like, I'm not doing the volleyball. I did the faculty student basketball game last year. That was awesome. But same thing. People were scared about getting hurt, especially in front of the kids, the whole school.
Well, you're jacking it up from like 27 feet out. It's hard to get hurt.
Hey man, listen, you talk about Maxie, guest bomb. Guess bomb goes a little bit further than that. I'm a shooter. I might not be a maker, but I'm a shooter.
We're at the point in our athletic careers where if you get into a basketball game or something of that nature, it's not about how you play. It's about getting out in one piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting the cardio. And I'm already a little bit of a hypochondriac as it is. So like, I totally understand where you're coming from with that. As far as like the littlest thing. And you're like at least for me, I'm on like Google, like, is this normal? Is this right? Am I supposed to feel this way?
Google's always just going to like feed into
you're going to die.
Yeah. You can't Google it.
Your back is broken.
You want to hit us with one?
Yeah, I'm going to give you my biggest fear. And it's been my biggest fear for a while. And it's like, you know, it's in jest, but it also is genuinely something that I don't want to happen. It's for someone or something with the same name as me to gain like worldwide popularity, whether it's a shitty celebrity or like an app. Because could you imagine just like in its Office Space? It's the guy Michael Bolton in Office Space.
Why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks.
Yeah, why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks. Like if just one day a guy comes out named Al Ryan and he's just like the biggest piece of trash, like because your whole life, the rest of your life, you're screwed.
Dude, I never thought about that.
Make a reservation, order a pizza, anything where they need your name, you are screwed for the rest of your life. For me right now, the thing that's kind of close is AI getting popularity because whenever you type it, it looks like Al. So I've heard it now 100 times at least. Oh, Al did the. I mean, no, asshole, it's AI.
Right.
But like, could you imagine seriously if your name was just like you were Justin Bieber your whole life, and then all of a sudden Justin Bieber is Justin Bieber? Your identity is no longer your identity.
Well, as someone who does have a famous name, I will tell you, it's frustrating because I don't have anybody that's like the known Christopher Guest isn't like a criminal or a bad guy by any means, but his stuff with Monty Python and the old SNLs and all that kind of stuff, it never fails. Like doctors' offices or anywhere where there's like middle-aged white people, it's like, oh, you got a famous name. I'm like, do I look like it was on purpose? Like, do you think I was really named after him of all people? So it's kind of annoying at times, but I know it. I can feel it coming a mile away, depending on who's around when they find out what my name is. I can feel like, all right, they're gonna bring something up. Oh, like the old SNL, Monty Python. I'm like, yeah, what about it? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, let's shout out before we go to you, Chris. The chat has popped off. Ernie has said his biggest fear: there's only one Mike's Hard Lemonade left at the bar.
I can tell you guys the inside joke behind that story off the air.
Well, also real quick, Al, to piggyback off what you were just saying, I always think it's funny when I'm watching the Seahawks because they have a Kobe Bryant and a Michael Jackson in their secondary.
Yeah, like come on, man. Like, what are you doing as the parent? But in that case, they were named after those athletes, though.
Oh yeah. Well, Michael Jackson was Michael Jackson, but I mean, like Kobe Bryant is clearly named after Kobe, I would imagine.
Right. And the more obscure the name, the worse. Like again, like I bring up Justin Bieber because like that sucks. See, ESPN did that thing where they had all the Tom Brady's that like that sucks, man.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So you want me to do my biggest one first?
Just whatever you find. Whatever you have the most entertaining. Do your biggest one now, because by the end we lose the listeners.
All right. By far, this is something I've always had. By far, it is being buried alive. That is my biggest fear of all time.
Really?
Because I watched ever since. I mean, I've always had a fear of. I guess I'll spoil this down and tell you two in one here. Tight places. So again, letting you on the couch here. When I was 7 in summer camp at the Y. The Roxborough YMCA, I was put in a locker as a joke, and they couldn't open it back up. And ever since then, I've been freaked out by it, by being in tight spaces. So it messed me up. So then I saw Buried with Ryan Reynolds. And if you've never seen that movie, don't see it because you'll never be the same after that. And then also I saw the new Blair Witch, or the last one that was out, and there was a scene in there where the girl is underground and she's digging her way through a pipeline to get away, and she gets stuck in the pipeline underground. She's stuck in it, and I couldn't watch it. I turned it off. I couldn't do it.
That would be terrifying.
I was like, literally, no one can hear you, see you, anything, and you're just going to sit there and rot until you're dead. So that's always been like for me is like the buried alive in tight spaces. I went to like Bates Motel one time. They had the one room where there's like big plastic like trash bags that encompass this like hallway. You ever been in there and it's like tight so you can't really, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's all like, where are we gonna go? I'm like, I don't know, but figure it out. I gotta keep moving.
Yeah, it's the one that like
I don't like it.
It's like this, like you got to like push your way through.
Yeah, right? And you're pushing your way through the bags, and I'm like suffocating. I'm like,
I think it's to simulate birth.
It's
the rebirth. You're going through the canal, guest.
Even now, like I have like the fear of like the twins, like the first one, like going through naturally, and then like getting caught, and then having to be like, all right, we had to do a C-section in like the midstream, like we're like between the natural birth and like getting caught somehow.
Well, whoever got you out of that locker, you better have them on call.
Yeah, right.
Is
How
that
long were you in the locker?
I'd say about not that long, probably like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But they literally couldn't get it. And here's what they did. This is why I don't trust people either. The bastards left. they tried. They're like, oh my God, we can't get it. Like little 8-year-old friends I had back then. And they were cowards. They left. And the counselor finally came and opened it.
Yeah, shout them out, guests. Air them out.
No, I don't even remember what he worked.
Is that so? Would you say we could do this real quick, Seltzer? Is that your most feared way of dying? Then I guess is being buried alive.
Well, yeah, that or drowning.
I was just drowning's my.
It's very similar. It's
terrifying.
Ultimately, just losing breath slowly, like so. Yeah,
rest in peace, Matthew Perry. By the way,
yeah, fighting for breath though. That is a terrifying notion, man.
Dude, you got it. Like, man.
So that's a good
movie,
transition to my next one. This is my legit biggest fear. It used to be sharks, but open water is probably my biggest fear at this point. What I mean by open water is I can go in a pool, I can go on a boat, like a pontoon boat, but if you take me out to where I can't see land, that's it. Like I freak out at that point. That's not for me. Because again, I'm thinking if this ship sinks, we're all done. Like it's over for us. And I've never been I'm not a great swimmer. If you drop me in the middle of a pool, I can get to whatever side I need to get to without a problem. But if you ask me to doggy paddle for like 10 minutes in the ocean, I'm going down.
Yeah.
Well,
swimming in open water, when I did my triathlon, it's a different beast, dude.
Well, because it's up here too. It's mental then because you don't see it ending.
I just remember when I jumped in the water, the first wave, like because it was choppy that morning because there was a storm. The first wave smacked me in the face, and I was just frantic from that point on. Like it was survival to just get me to the damn shore.
It's like being in a
Mike Tyson say, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Get splashed in the face.
Yeah, no, water's no joke, man. Well, as the brother here in the trio, we don't really swim anyway. So
yeah, Lil Ern's with you, guest. He says he'll drown in any kind of water. So yeah,
and dude, just the damage that water can do as a whole.
It's the most powerful force in the world. Is water.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
so shout out water.
That whale watching tour I did, never again. One and only for me.
Yeah, I agree with
that. Don't see it again.
So I put some fears on my list that are like these are just like irrational fears.
I have a couple.
Yeah, that are just in the back of my head that like most likely will not happen. So one I have is like if I'm out to eat with people that I choke or I like get something caught or when you're about to say something and like but you're eating and you get caught and I spit my food or my drink on someone at the dinner. I have a fear of like I think of like I'm not making this up. Like I think about that during the meal.
Dude, as someone that's literally choked before, that's the last thing you're thinking about when you're choking.
No, but like I'm talking about a different kind of choke though, guess. Like I'm talking about like when you're like drinking water and then like someone says something and then your brain.
Oh, like this casual choke.
Yeah, so then like
not like a life-threatening choke.
And you just like cough everything that's coming out.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like I have a fear of doing that and it just gets all over like everyone. And it's like it's mostly a fear of like I'm out to dinner with people that I don't really know too well. And then I just do that and there's like no coming back from it.
Dude, luckily we were at home. Sarah did that the other night, where she literally and her being like 8.5 months pregnant, she's just like a round mound of just like so she's like she sneezes. It was such a mess. She sneezed and then she coughed at the same time, and all her dinner just went all over her shirt. I was like, "It's all right, babe. It's all right." But it made me think about when you were just saying because that's basically what she just did. But thankfully for her, it's at home at least.
Yeah, that's
an excuse. She's almost 9 months pregnant. Like she's things aren't working as prime as they probably could or normally would at that point in time. So
yeah, that's just fear of my own embarrassment, I guess.
Yeah.
I did it last year. Actually, I took a sip of coffee in front of my class, and I just spit it in the front of the room, like not near any kids. Like all the kids were like, "What's wrong with you? Like, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just like it went down the wrong pipe, but I had a mouthful of coffee, so it just all came out."
I fell down in front of my class the other day. I slipped on my school bag. Fell right down. They were.
How old are you, dude?
I was literally just like, and then we're gonna fell right down, right mid-sentence.
You just gotta dismiss them at that point. All right, well, guys, tomorrow.
Thankfully, it was 5th grade, so they were just more like, "Are you okay?" more than laughing and embarrassing me. But like, if it was 8th grade, they would have just been like, "Yo, he fell down, yo."
Oh yeah, dude.
They would not have cared at all.
You would have a nickname. I don't know what the nickname
Oh
would be.
yeah,
Mr. Busted Ass for the rest of the year.
Mr. Busted.
All right, guys, hit us with another one.
You talking to me or Al?
You. Al just went.
So this one I mentioned before on here, and I'll say it again because it's a problem that I always think about, and that's being somewhere without bathroom access. That's a tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough sled.
Yeah, man.
You got it. Like I literally, I don't go anywhere if I know there's not going to be a bathroom access point, because I've been there too many times, one or two, where if you can't do it, it ruins your experience.
Without getting too graphic, the feeling that's right along those lines of when you were driving home or driving somewhere and your stomach is, you're getting those pains where it's like comes and goes and comes and goes. And that feeling when you're like, I'm not going to make it.
Yep.
That's as scary as it gets.
I want to know, there has to be a science behind that. And I've said this forever because it starts to get worse the closer you get to your house. So some of that is also mental.
Oh, 100% is
Sure.
psychological.
Right. But like, what's the science behind that? Your brain knows you're getting closer. So it starts to just like open the gates.
Actually, yeah, because your brain sends a signal to your rectum. And so if you're constantly thinking about it more, those signals are going to be coming further and more down the line to that area. So it's going to send more signals to do what it's got to do. Whereas if you're not thinking about it, the signals it's still happening, but not as much as it would be if you're constantly thinking about it. But you can't not think about it.
Right. I'll say this too, though, and I've always said this. It's one of the worst feelings in the world, followed immediately by one of the best feelings in the world.
Oh, the relief is unmatched.
The release.
Relief, release, everything. It's better than, I'll keep that thought to myself.
But so I know Adam jumped the line, but that was also one of mine. So I had having an accident in public is one of my irrational fears. Like I don't know the less
bridesmaid status. You ever seen with the
no, just like or even just like honestly, just like a shark. Like, you know what I mean? And you're out in public and you don't have to change your pants or anything. Like that's a fear of mine.
Oh God.
All right. Back to me. So we'll do one more each, and then we'll just rattle off some extra ones if we have them. So this one's going to be something that you guys don't fear because you deal with it almost every day. But talk about an irrational fear is like me with maybe my wife walking by a group of rowdy teenagers. And
is that a fear or just a nuisance?
No, it's a fear because I don't want them to say something to me, because then what do I do? Like, just take it and watch them laugh at me, or do I say something back? Then I'm the tough guy. I'm like the old guy who wants to start stuff. I'm just like I'm walking by like, please leave me alone. Like, don't bully me. So I mean, you guys have to deal with it every day with the kids, but for me, I'm just like, let's just have it be nice and peaceful. Like, let's just move on here.
That is true. Casey she had a run in with some kids, I think like 2 weeks ago, she said. And like the one neighbor the guy came out and was like, it was a bunch of teenagers and he yelled at them and they all started giving him shit, like making fun of him. And then she said she went out and yelled at them and they all were like, oh, it's a mom. And they like respectfully like went away. And she said, thank God they did, because I didn't know what to do, what else to do. Like, if they made fun of me, I probably would have cried and went back in the house.
So I was talking to you guys all know Nick Vigiano, and he was saying the other day that he has a bunch of like teenagers and they're always peeling out in his neighborhood with the cars. And so he went out and he said something to them like about that. And he was like, my house is getting egged tonight. I know it.
Well, because kids don't have respect, and it starts in I mean, don't get me on my soapbox, but it starts in the home. And a lot like the respect that parents instill in their kids right now is it's not the norm anymore. And that's the issue. Like there's so many, and I'm sure Al, you could attest to the same thing. Like there's so many kids who we know in the classroom just aren't raised right by how they behave. They have no respect for people.
Apples and trees.
Yeah.
Will fall
They
for
don't if they don't respect their mom and dad, how are they going to expected to respect a principal or a teacher? I mean, we've had people at Sarah's school last year when I was there where they were just calling the principal by his first name, all kind of stuff. And we're in a decent district, and that stuff still happens. So like, it's ridiculous. It's beyond even the kids. But I get you, Seltzer. I had a time at the Rita's Water Ice a couple summers ago. They all rolled up before I was even teaching or anything, like 15 deep. And they're like 4 of them literally 6 inches behind my back.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, back up. What is wrong with what are you doing? But I was
Bumping
like, you know what?
you, taking a video of you.
I'm like, let me just chill. It's only gonna be 2 seconds. I'll get back in my car and go about my business. But it's frustrating. I can definitely see that.
It happened once, Seltzer, to me on the golf course at Cobbs Creek. Not to me, but I was with Joe Demands, and he was getting ready to hit a shot. And all of a sudden, a bunch of, they weren't even teenagers or anything. I think they were like 11 and 12-year-old kids on bikes, came out of nowhere, rode up to him, and started circling him while he was getting ready. And then they started saying, yo, that's a nice hat. Let me get that hat. And he was like, oh.
What did you do?
Can't do anything, dude. You just got to wait for him to leave. That was it, dude. They left. He didn't even hit a shot. He picked the ball, but he was like, "Don't get in the car. We got to get out of here. We just went to the next hole."
Because you don't know when they're going to come back.
It's a 100% a no-win situation. There's no way you can win.
No way.
Yeah. They right now the issue at the school where I coach is there's kids who ride the not full motorcycles, but like the motor scooters, and they do wheelies and stuff on them like throughout the main street of the campus. And it's just like there's our practices going on for football, then there's soccer practice or games across the road, then there's like the cross country kids running around the school, and it's just such a big distraction. And they've parents written emails about it, like the neighborhood, because they do it in the neighborhood too, and they still do it. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? Like the cops even around here, like they post up there as like try to stop them, and they stop them for a little bit, and then weeks later they do it again.
Yeah. It's an endless cycle. But look, our elders said,
listen.
Were we that bad?
We
Did we do stuff like that?
Our elders said it about us, man.
Yeah.
I was a little asshole.
You were an asshole.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, keep it moving.
No, you and Tom used to get into it, dude.
Used to. We still go toe to toe.
All right, back to Al.
I really don't have like I have 3 left, and they're all just generic stuff. So I'll just name all 3 of them. Heights, I don't love heights. Insects, I've always had a fear of insects.
Yep.
And paper cuts. I don't love paper cuts, but I'm like afraid to like get them.
Are you the guy that's like wearing gloves to cut boxes open?
It's definitely not to that degree, but like every now and then, if I'm like, because guess again, being a teacher, we're shuffling papers around or something. Yep. Every now and then, I'll think, "Oh shit, I gotta be a little more careful. Being a little bit too willy nilly with this. I gotta."
Yeah,
I'm that way about splinters.
Splinters suck.
There were like so the splinter is worse than the paper cut. However, the paper cut is more of a risk, if that makes sense. Like they're like you're more at risk.
It happens more often.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah,
and I think the paper cut's more painful long term. The splinter is only that second while you're pulling it out.
Dude, you get a deep paper cut though, that's rough.
Yeah, that's why I'm not hating on the paper cut. Paper cut hurt.
It's rough, man.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
So I got like 2 left, kind of wild ones, but you guys know I'm a big movie fan. I can watch any kind of movie, horror movie, whatever. But the exception is movies that have antichrists. It freaks me out. So what I mean, like Exorcist movies, or if you ever remember like the movie like Stigmata back in the day, like movies that have antichrists in them, I can't do it. If it freaks, because there's an element of realness to it, because there are people that have like the whole like devil belief and all kind of stuff. So for me, when there's any kind of realness, it makes it a little bit like too real or scary to me. So like any movie with like an antichrist in it as the antagonist, I can't watch it. It freaks me out.
That's an interesting one. I
Yeah,
have nothing really to add to that.
yeah, but you get off the couch for this one because I got nothing to. I can't help you out here.
Yeah.
Well, just don't watch them, I guess. Huh? What are we going to tell me?
They're very avoidable.
Oh
I have,
yeah. But
I-
like that new Exorcist movie, like I like Sarah and I both like we just turn the channel when the trailer comes on. Like I can't do it. Like I can't do it. Possession and all that kind of stuff. It's weird.
I got 3 other ones quickly. One, Chris, you know well from hanging out. I'm sure out of. I can't stand onions. The sight of onions, the smell of onions, the taste of the look of onions.
Yeah, it's a weird.
I tell the story. I know you guys have had Arby's recently.
No,
in the last
I've never had
10 years.
Arby's.
So they have the beef and cheddar, which is on an onion roll. When I was younger, I loved the sandwich and I would eat it all the time. And at one point, I was in college and I looked at the roll and I saw the little onions that were on there. And I said to myself, "You're fine. You love this sandwich." I bit the next bite; it tasted completely different. And I from now on, when I go there, I don't get the onion roll.
Well, what is it about the onion? Like, what is the origin
I
story?
don't like the taste. I don't like the feel. I don't like any part.
Seltzer was at the age of 7 at the Roxborough Y. He was shoved into an onion, and he was there. And he was there for 4 minutes, and his friends left him.
Imagine being in a locker with an onion in it. Oh my god!
The other 2 that I have quickly, Al, you'll reflect on this as a golf guy. Tee shots lined with OB on both sides is always a scary thought.
Few shots in general for me, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say any shot, golf shot, period.
And the last one's not really a fear, more of an annoyance. But the supermarket on a Sunday, keep me out of there.
I'm there every Sunday. I tackle that beast head on.
Oh man, God bless you. I'm with you on that.
Yes,
Diverse is late into the chat here.
Diversa finally joined us, guest. He said you're dressed up like a cat burglar.
Hey, a little chilly on this Halloween night.
Diversa's biggest fear is actually joining us face to face for one of these. That's his biggest fear.
Yeah, it's true that. And also speaking of Diversa, Seltzer, you want to cover your ears for this one. Another fear of mine is as a African American male is bald white dudes at bonfires and or on motorcycles. Freaks me out. I feel like you're probably like a MAGA. I feel like you probably don't like me. I feel like you probably would hang me on a tree somewhere if you had to. I don't like it.
My brother-in-law right now, he's been rocking for the last 6 months the shaved head goatee. He looks like Ed Norton in And he's like, dude, he's like the least racist, like the most like.
Well, and that's the thing,
nicest dude ever. But and he knows it. He's like, I know I look like him, but like it's just what I'm rocking right now.
That's the thing, and he's probably awesome. And there's probably a lot of people that are like that, but the stigma, I got to be honest, man. It's like it's a real thing, and
that did remind me of something that I'm genuinely afraid of. It's ever since I've watched shows like The Night of and the story about being accused of a crime. That scares the hell out of me because it can happen with,
especially as a teacher.
Yeah, like so being accused of a crime scares the shit out of me.
Dude, I don't even let if I have a kid leaving late or something from class, I walk right out and go right into the hallway as fast as I can. Because it's one time where your kid could be like, anything happened, and it's just me and them in the classroom. I can't have it. I'm with you with that.
The verse is saying he'll get on, sign the contract, calling you Commissioner Quest.
Come on, sucker! I want you. That's my full list.
Yeah,
right. Good change of pace there to celebrate Halloween, and hope you all enjoyed it. Got a bunch of candy, and let's hope it leads to an Eagles victory this weekend over the Dallas Cowboys. But until then, let's drop that beat.